What's up, my ghouls and gals? Welcome back to the channel. This is Sam here, aka Spook Commander. So this is the first of two videos for this week since I was unable to upload last week due to some health issues, unfortunately. Feeling a little bit better, so trying to jump on that momentum. And we decided, and by we, I mean me with the guidance of Yo-Yo, who is napping underneath my desk, have decided that I'm just going to use this video to go over what I read in, what did I say? Grab my phone here. Through April, May, June, and August. Since I didn't actually read anything in July, I kind of took a break because I've been reading like a mad woman. And we have some of the physical copies this time because I didn't loan all of them out because I've been doing that. So we're going to kind of go through the one-offs that I read over those few months, and then we'll get into the two series that I kind of delved into. So, first book that I read, again, this is all out of order. I don't remember which month I read each thing in. I just know that I read them in those months. We have Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I love mythology and folklore, and I honestly don't know that much about Norse mythology, so it was really cool. It was a gift from one of my wife's friends to us, because our friend Tristan knows that I love to read, and it was really interesting to see his take. I really enjoyed the way he kind of separated the stories, but also there was a fluidity to them, so I could kind of go back and be like, oh wait, I remember this was just one or two tales ago, so it was a lot easier on my brain box to process all of it, and it was very interesting, and I definitely want to read some more stuff like that. So if you want a good little intro to Norse mythology, I thought that was a really good one, and I would imagine some other people would like it. The next little standalone, which is one of my very few well, it is fantasy, but it's also not. So it is called Ghostland, an American History and Haunted Places by Colin Dickey. Again, like I said, I love folklore, I love mythology, I love all that spooky stuff, as you know the name Spook Commander would suggest. And this book was really, really interesting because not only did the author talk about all these places and locations, he discussed the folklore aspect to it, but also then brought the more scientific half and some more factual information, not just the legend. So I really appreciated that. And some of it was a little dreary to read just because it was like, here's facts. But if you're into this sort of thing like I am, I definitely would recommend it. It's also a very short read. It's only about 300-ish pages, and each part of the book is kind of broken up into sections, so that's kind of generalized topics. Now, even more one-offs. We've got two more one-offs to talk about. One of the more recent books I read was The Bone House by Emily Llyod-Jones. This was incredibly interesting. So, our character Ryn, it's spelled R-Y-N. I'm not 100% sure about the pronunciation behind it because, as we've learned in previous videos, I'm horrible at pronunciation. So she's a gravedigger. Like, that's what her family does. They run the graveyard and they defend from bone houses. And what are bone houses, you ask? They're reanimated corpses. More skeletal from kind of how it felt like I was reading. And it's kind of this big old adventure of another character. I'm just browsing for his name. His name's Ellis, who comes into the town that she lives in because he's a map maker. And a whole lot of shenanigans end up happening because he's trying to map out this location because no one's really done it. And there's a major plot twist that happened. I was not expecting it. I was shocked. I was like, okay, wow, you bamboozled me really good. But I thought it was a very fun read. It's definitely very good. I wish I had waited till October to read it because where it has that more spooky vibe, but I thought it was very good. I'm excited to see what else Emily Llyod-Jones comes out with. I'm hoping it'll be some more kind of fantasy folklore like this one was. And then, my favorite, my absolute favorite of all of the one-offs that I've read, Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I love Margaret Rogerson. I read An Enchantment of Ravens last year. It was the first book by her I read, which I believe is also her first book. And I loved everything about it. And I was really upset when it ended and that it is a one-off because I wanted more of this universe. I wanted more of these characters. I love the way she goes into fantasy. Before I continue to go off in my tangent, so our main character is named Elizabeth. And she grew up in a library. Like, what a dream come true, right? So, a lot of stuff happens. But in these libraries, one of the libraries of which she grew up in, very specifically there are grimoires. And not grimoires like we think where, oh, it's just a book and magic. They are so much more. They are alive. They have personalities. They have quirks to them. And something goes down. Suddenly these grimoires are being transformed into demons and are attacking people, attacking libraries, and it gets crazy. Elizabeth gets into some trouble, meets one of my favorite book boys ever, and I don't want to tell you anymore though because it might ruin it. But it is a fantastic fantasy standalone, so if you just want something to get really cozy, and again, this is also something I kind of wish I waited until October to read because it does have that kind of creepier vibe to it without being like horror or anything. But it is absolutely fantastic, and it is always, 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 always going to be a book that I recommend. As you can tell, if you can see the very cracked spine, it has been well loved after me because I shoved it into 2 different friends' hands and go, here, read this. It's important for your life. It was amazing. Okay, so before we get on to the series that I read, we're going to talk about half of the duology that I read, and I'm bringing you some more unpopular opinions. I read Six of Crows this year by Leigh Bardugo. Earlier this year I had also read the Shadow and Bone trilogy. A lot of people had said to me, you know, Shadow and Bones, if that's not your thing, Six of Crows should be. Like, Six of Crows is phenomenal, it's the best. It was okay. I did really, really enjoy the trope of found family because I'm a firm believer in that. Your family can be more than the people who are just your blood. Sometimes you find the folks who are meant to be part of your family. So I could really appreciate that in this book. But it didn't feel like I was taking in the story. I felt really that I was just reading it. I didn't feel submersed in the story. My heart didn't, race with these characters when they had, these moments, during this heist is happening and things are crazy and you find out all these different things and I felt for them, but it's different than feeling it with them. I'm not 100% sure if that would make sense to anybody else but me. But I did buy Crooked Kingdom with the intention of reading it. I did start a few pages into it and I just realized, I was like, I'm not invested in these characters. I'm not invested in this story. So that is my unpopular opinion, take 2 about Leigh Bardugo. I don't believe I will be reading any more of her books because now this is the second series by her that I have tried to read and it still has just not vibed with me as a reader, as a consumer. But I do tell other people, if that's something that they would enjoy, I'll loan you my book anytime because it's just sitting on my shelf as of right now. And then the series that I read throughout those few months was An Ember in the Ash by Sabaa Tahir. I unfortunately do not have my copies of them because I'm loaning them out to a friend because that's what I do. I had originally read the first book in Ember in the Ashes back in 2017, I believe, and I remember it inspired me. Something about the way she writes, it essentially just lit a fire under my ass, and I finished that book in a day. I just could not physically put it down. And so when I realized the fourth book was out, I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe I haven't gone back and read all of this, because I'd never picked up book 2 or 3, even though they'd been sitting on my bookshelf, because I was really bad about that. And so I spit through those. It was one of the most amazing stories I have ever read. And if you don't know about the Ember and the Ashen, so we have our 2 main characters who the first book POV switches through a lot. So I don't even want to spoil, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil Ember in the Ashes, but they're essentially from 2 completely different worlds, and these characters collide in the most unexpected way. And it made me think so much about the way the world is now, and how you could kind of see the similarities in what things were going through. And I just remember one of the lines in the book, and it is, where there is life, there is hope. And it made me cry. It made me cry for just thinking about how our world is today with Black Lives Matter movement, and those are things that are very, very important to me. So if you come into my comment section with negative things to say about that, you will be banned and blocked. I will not deal with it. It made me cry because that's what I always want. I want there to be hope, and that book gave it to me. And it's not a linear journey. It's not a linear journey for these 2 characters and what they go through. They go through hell and back. And it's another series that I constantly recommend to people, also for the fact that the author is a Pakistani American woman. We love to support women of color. We love to support authors of color. So that is my wrap up to what I read this year. Again, I'm still trying to get better at these videos. I'm not really sure how to describe the books without giving things away. Hopefully I'll get better at it in the future. But if you did make it through to the end of this video, I appreciate it so much. This will be going up probably today, Wednesday, and then Friday we will have our usual scheduled video. I'm thinking it might be the book haul that I just did last week. We'll see. And yeah, thanks for stopping by and hanging out. If you've ever read any of these books, please put in the comments what you thought, because I love to have people to talk books about. Thus, you know, the Booktube thing. And if you haven't read any of them and you know, are planning on it, also let me know. Like, I would love to talk books with people. So, comment section, go nuts, except don't go in there and be a jerk, because nobody needs that. The world is too chaotic right now. We need a little bit of goodness. We need a little bit of book talk. But not book talk. You know what I mean. Alright, this is Sam signing out. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll see you on Friday.